maybe with the whole diary type thing, you could use the app Instagram instead. I feel like that would more get to an audience than Facebook, because there's not like Facebook. In my own standpoint, it's kind of a social media I just use when I've got like 5 to 10 minutes. Not really social media I'll go on to really look up anything or find anything really.
So what would you suggest?
Well, Instagram.
Instagram's better.
Yeah, that's more of an app that I would say young girls more go on than Facebook. Personally.
They do, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tend to find if I'm in a Facebook page group, I'm more inclined to look at the notifications for that than just a random notification I'm scrolling past on Instagram. Plus, it also I can link like the final piece at the end. The student can link their like behind the scenes stuff. I feel like it's more of a friendly platform to use in terms of how I want to use it.
I think it's something that you need to investigate more and look at the social media definitely is to look at ways that you can promote it more, you know, hashtags, online premieres, teaser trailers, also look at kind of the different demographics that are on the different platforms. So obviously Instagram's going to be younger, more creative people. Facebook's going to be older. I mean, Facebook is good for creating a page and having. I find it easier for writing, but then I don't use it on Instagram. But Facebook is definitely an older demographic. I think what I'll pick up on what Sean said as well is that make sure you practice the lighting techniques and shots that you've discussed further back. And I think that the filming schedule is unrealistic for the length of the film that you want to make. And I think you need to, I think you should possibly try and create a 5-minute film for the FMP purposes either, and you can always finish it off after the FMP deadline. I think I would concentrate on creating something shorter. That's where you get your techniques right, rather than trying to create a 10-minute film, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It could be a 5-minute piece where you just show a scene from the meeting, to be honest.
Yes.
And getting together.
Yeah. And then possibly film the rest when it's convenient, or film it all, but just concentrate on editing and sound for a certain section of it, so you can really get the best out of it.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see more ideas about characters and their traits, but you did mention them after when Sean asked, but I would have liked to see more of those at the start. I think the examples that we used were all relevant and interesting, and I get what you're trying to make, so it's clear, it's succinct, so that's good. Yeah. Pavel.
Okay. I'm going to deviate a little bit here. No, don't get so before positives. I mean, it was well presented. I think it's really ambitious, but you're obviously passionate about it. And there's some good ideas for evidence and stuff like that. And the examples you used were good. I still have no bloody clue what you're making. I don't know what the story is.
Yeah.
At all. I know it's something to do with love, but I've no idea. You know, how these people are, what the journey's going to be. You know, I don't have any idea what that is whatsoever. Like, you know, and that's kind of important. Like, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Can you tell me that just now, or do you just in like a minute?
Yeah. Well, kind of just starts out as Nathan just so happens to meet Alison. Start hanging out a bit more, like the relationship kind of
Develops.
yeah, that's the word. They start dating. It progresses even more. All the while Nate is slightly changing into a sort of copy of Alison in a way. And he's becoming more and more like her instead of being who he is. To the point where she feels that he doesn't know who he is because she's always with him. So she leaves, he's heartbroken, and I think what I'm going to do at the end would be they have like one last kind of meet, and it ends mutually. It's like we'll always love each other, but like for our best interests, we should go different ways.
You seen 500 Days of Summer?
Nope.
Right, you need to watch 500 Days of Summer. It's not the same, but it's not 100 miles away. Right, okay, so that I kind of get the story. That right, a couple of things. It's too long. By a million miles. 10 to 15 minutes is way too big. I mean, 10 minutes is still way too long. I mean, don't aim for length as a kind of qualifier for quality. It's not at all.
Well,
if you
thinking of like how to fit a story in, you know?
do it visually.
Okay.
Rather than one of the things I want to say is that the thing you're trying to do, unless you're an extremely good writer with an extremely good cast, has the propensity to stray into extreme cheesiness or extreme melodrama that's going to come across terribly on screen. Most of these things kind of work when the actors are good.
Yeah.
Because the dialogue can easily be delivered really badly, like, you know.
Yeah.
So the less dialogue, the better, really, like, you know, as far as it's going to be concerned. So try and think about telling it visually, and I think the story you're telling me, especially, you can tell that really in a very succinct time. But when you think, I mean, what you're thinking about is 5 minutes is a very, very short space of time. That's what you're thinking.
It's not when you're.
But it's not when on film. It's not. You can tell it really, you know, kind of well thought out and succinct film in a minute. You know, filmed properly and, you know, kind of written properly and structured properly. Like, you know, I'm not saying you shorten it down to a minute, but what I'm saying to you that let the length of the story be served by the story, not by an ambition to make something that you think is expected by, you know, like the filmmaking community or whatever, because it's not actually, like, you know, I mean, it used to be the case that the legitimate short was 10 minutes, like, you know, that's not been true for like 15 years, 20 years, like, you know, I mean, a short can be any length, like, you know, and it's still a legitimate piece of work. But you're better off if you can make, you know, a 3 to 5 minute quality piece of work that tells a succinct story in a cinematic way. That is a million times better than telling a 10 to 15 minute film that is shoddily produced, technically inferior, and, you know, it will feel flabby, like, you know.
Yeah.
So let the script be served by the story and not by your ambition. So, like, what I don't want you doing is sitting at a computer going, I need to get to 15 pages. I need to get to 15 pages. If you get to 3, that's great. Okay, and that's the story. And try to tell as much stuff visually as is possible. Okay. And you need to be realistic about what's possible. I mean, how many characters? You have 2 characters, is it? Is that it?
Not quite. There's like I'd say there's mentions of a few other characters, maybe 1 or 2 into like the less than a scene each.
Okay, but try to limit that to as much as possible, because I mean, one I'm worried about the cast you get now, because bear in mind, 10 to 15 minute film, okay? It's ambitious to shoot 2 pages a day. It's more realistic to shoot 1 page a day. So that's 15 days of shooting if it was 15-minute film,
Yeah.
with a crew, which you're suggesting you're not going to have. So if it's 10 minute film, that's 10 days of shooting, like, you know. So when you start taking that into account, and you may say to me, oh no, I'll work faster, like, you know, but honestly, it'll be a page a day, page and a half tops. Really, that's really ambitious. So you really need to look at that. And I know you don't work well with others sometimes, like, you know, but I do worry about trying to achieve this without, you know, if you were on set and you're basically talking about doing a 2-hander with dialogue, and you were supposed to be responsible for the visuals, the sounds, the lighting.
Yeah.
That's a big ask for anybody.
True.
Not a mind that somebody that's still learning.
Yeah.
That makes sense, like, you know. So I would think about seeing if there's any quid pro quo from anybody, like, you know, that you think that might be able to help you for a couple of days, like, you know, and see if you can help